Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is the ChatGTM podcast coming to you again somewhere live, at least at this moment in time, from Tampa, Florida, in my nerdy lair home office. And with me on here is my co-host and business partner, Mr. Chad Horn. Chad, how you be today, sir?
Not as warm as you. I'm coming from cold Boston, Massachusetts. So
I was like, how do you know it's so warm in here right now? Like, it's really hot in my room. I need to turn on my air conditioning. When it's your turn to ask questions, I'm going to flip to my phone and turn the thermostat down a bit. It is toasty here today.
But
So,
things are good. In the last 48 hours, it's indicated what time of year this is because people are asking, "Are you going to be at this show? Where are you going to be over the next few months?" Because it's trade show season, so
it's popping off.
everyone's starting to ask.
In fact, we just came off of a call with RTN, right? And they were talking about a subject near and dear to heart, and kind of what we're about to talk about now, which is
I forget the two letters.
I
I know it's two letters, Beck. They're just not coming
and they're
into my
both vowels.
mind.
They're both
Huh?
vowels. They're both
Yes,
vowels.
yes, they're both vowels.
Yeah. 2X.
A E
No,
I
that's not a
O.
vowel.
You know.
AI, take a shot. All right. It is the grand drinking game of AI. If we all talked about if we took a shot every time we heard the word AI, I think the entire country and the world would be trashed nonstop. But with that in mind, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest who's waiting patiently in the wings right now, but you can see him there and he's a little bit puzzled and rightfully so. And thank goodness he's a good sport because we're going to have a lot of fun right now. So today on the show, we're joined by Mr. Adam Steinman, a husband, father, and customer experience executive who's redefining restaurant technology. Adam leads AI voice and tech solutions at scale, helping restaurants streamline operations while keeping the human touch front and center. With a culinary foundation from the Culinary Institute of America, or CIA as we like to call it, and over 15 years driving digital transformation from Carl's Jr. and Hardee's to high growth AI startups, Adam turns complex technology into operational wins for both executives and frontline teams. He's also the voice behind the Caught Between the Bites and Bits and Bytes newsletter, sharing some raw insights from the restaurant world where technology and service collide. And with all that said, Adam, now is your time. Welcome to the show, and we're honored to have you as our guest. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Happy to be here.
Our pleasure.
Love it. I think I'm gonna put a little canned applause and post on that. Yeah, this is absolutely great. You know, you're one of our clients, and we love on. In fact, we were just talking about the fact that we were on the RTN call. We love on so many things that are about AI. And when Chad and I started this journey, we really decided that we wanted to work with bleeding edge tech and companies that are doing things that, yeah, there's AI, but what's moving the needle, right? And I would argue what you're doing is probably one of the most impactful things out there that a QSR can look for to really regain time and consistency and guest experience. So this is gonna be a really fun talk.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So let's get going. Let's start here. So thinking about your culinary background, Adam, right? And how it shapes everything you do. How does your experience as a chef, of all things, influence your approach to tech and operations?
I mean, it's really a foundation. You think about it. I worked in every different kind of kitchen you can imagine. I worked with some really, really great chefs, the renowned chefs that you would definitely know. And then actually I ended my career in sort of like corporate dining, food service, where I got to do a lot of cool stuff, but maybe not like the highlight of everything everyone knows about, but it was still wonderful. And I think a lot of that experience that I had working in different kitchens, working with different technologies, really gave me a good insight. I mean, I'm a voice of the operator. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm the customer experience officer. I need the voice of the operator. I need to understand not only what are the people who I'm really talking to regularly at the brand are going through and their goals or initiatives, what they're trying to solve, but really when I step into restaurants like I do regularly and I'm talking to, the cook or the general managers, like I need to know what they're going through. I need to know what pains they're having so that I can really guide the best, development and improvement of the product so that it exceeds their expectations.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Like in culinary, I went to culinary school too, Western Culinary in Portland, Oregon, and we focused a lot on window times, right? When this is in high end cooking, you want a 7-minute window time, that's what we were targeting as goal, and now even more so, like with the QSR and speed of service, right?
Yeah, it's service time. I mean, at the end of the day, if you think about it industry wide, it's service time. A drive-through, they call it speed of service, but there's always a timer going on with your plates, whether it's a real timer that's sitting in front of you that's really big in QSR, obviously, or just a silent one in the guest's head in the dining room waiting for their food. So
you're talking about some similarities already between your culinary experience and what you're doing now, which you haven't really gotten into. But talk about what you do now, and And further, like talk about the connection between like the craft side, right? As a chef, you're worried about the craft of what you're doing, and you're going to be doing some of that in your current role. But
Yeah.
yeah, let us into the window of what you're doing now.
So, I mean, when you talk about customer experience, particularly when it comes to like guest-facing AI for restaurants, you really have three different customers, right? You have the brand that you're working with. You've got the people in the restaurant who are going to be leveraging and using it every day. And then you've got the guests, right? The guests of the restaurant. So there's a lot of layers of complexity here, right? We have the brand who has the, they're testing AI, right? They want to see the impact. They want to see, key deliverables, metrics that will help, prove out the ROI. And then you have the general manager. And, she cares about those stuff, but not nearly as much as she cares about, okay, how are my guests interacting with it? How quick is it taking in order to say things right? And the guest, of course, wants a good experience. So they want to be able to not have to repeat themselves. They don't want to hear any, mistakes that maybe the AI makes. Those are the vowels, right? AI. So there's a lot of different layers of complexity to building something like this. And, there's been a lot of companies that are still in the space, that have been in space for a long time. And I don't think anyone's really fully solved the problem yet, right? I mean, no one's really taken it and run with it and said, we're going to roll this everywhere. And that just leads me to believe that maybe the problem hasn't been solved yet, right? It's a very complex, difficult problem to solve.
I believe I heard you say is nobody's really cracked the code yet on this.
Which is not to say that it's not working in production, which it is. Like it's working really well for a lot of restaurants today. It is. And
Yeah.
in product, it is. It's just, is it fully baked? I don't know. Like I think they can. Maybe that's just me always thinking it can be better. But it's more of where are the risks, where are the opportunities, how do we leverage the plethora of different AI technologies that we have out there today to really push this home, right?
Yeah. So thinking about restaurants and a little bit of your background too, before we move on to more like the product and things we solve and other things out there, what really made you respect the complexity of just restaurant operations? Because on the outside, we go, we buy food, we walk in, we order something, it gets to our plate. I don't think we think about all the things that have to happen in rapid succession to get that hot, ready, palatable, craveable thing on our plate that's consistent, right?
I'll say the respect definitely came when I was like neck deep in the weeds on the line, right? That's where I started. Buried in tickets, running low on this person called in, this didn't print, like trucks running late, like all those things that could go wrong and just fail together, right? They just layer on one another and they don't go away very easily, right? I mean, the stress that it causes doesn't just like, okay, it's fixed, it's done now. It still lingers, right? You still feel the anxiety. But there's just so many, like you said, layers to things that have to go right and get done successfully so you guys get the food on the plate. And it really comes from me kind of working all the positions, but also being a good diner too, right? I mean, I eat out regularly. I've eaten out regularly from all my career, like most of us have. And just the respect for it comes from having to do it when you actually have to get there and build it. I mean, running a kitchen is one thing, right? But when you're running multiple kitchens and multiple different events and you're using different technologies and you need inputs and support or deliverables from someone else that's not even there in the restaurant and that you need them to do so you can be successful, you get a lot of respect for it. And when it comes down to like right now, at least I've been working with AI drive-through specifically for about 5 years now, which is a long time given how long some of these companies have been out. I started, like you said, when I was working with CKE for Hardee's and Carl's Jr. When I onboarded with them in 2019, I was really working on technology products, operationalizing them, and AI became one of the biggest projects that I had during the last stint of my time at CKE. When I left CKE, I went to the vendor side, and I've been there ever since. So I have the perspective from, the brand side. What are we looking for? Testing different vendors, but also from the company side, right? We want to make sure we build a scalable, profitable product that delivers, right? And making sure that at least, having the perspective from everyone, like I said, those three layers of customers, the brand, the team members, and their guests is really helpful.
So, Adam, I want to ask you about, it kind of gets a little bit at this idea of, especially because your hospitality background, but AI, I think people think efficiency. Some people still think replacing jobs, right, and that kind of stuff. But what's the bar? Because I think sometimes people get overly idealistic about the current state of hospitality at the drive-through window, like
Hmm.
some idealized picture
Mm.
that's not even like what the workers behind the counter are willing or able to deliver. So, how good does AI have to be better than from a hospitality experience, forgetting efficiencies?
Oh, that's a good question. So how good does AI have to be to from a hospitality perspective? We've been doing a lot of research and trying to understand what the larger barriers are to AI adoption, right? Because we have tools that are out there that are working, but they're not scaling, right? So what's the holdup? And I think the holdup really is around what you said. It's that hospitality standpoint, right? And just the larger macro view of AI, even outside of the restaurant industry, right? I think one of the reactions that we can see is that there's a lot of anti-AI sentiment out there, right? We have headlines like Amazon laying off 14,000 people, and automatically this narrative of, oh, AI is replacing people is just prevalent in the industry. So when people interact with it, out in their daily lives, and they're going to start to interact with it more and more as more products start coming to fruition here. They're so, oh my gosh, so they're using it and they want to cut costs, they want to get rid of people, they're trying to be more efficient and squeeze profit out, and they just really just have no idea what it means to run a restaurant, unfortunately, right? They have no idea that the person who is taking their order is not standing there, only entering their order onto a terminal and not doing anything else. They're probably not even on the pass or the expo station, right? Running around, filling fries, filling a drink, maybe checking on the cook line, and they're talking to them, remembering their order, and then they go press it in, or they're doing something else, or they have to, talk to a guest at the window, remember what the guest said while they're talking to them, and then they have to go back and finish the order, right? So they don't realize that because an AI greets you in the drive-thru does not mean that the restaurant operator is trying to cut costs aggressively or remove positions, right? I can tell you if they could do that, they would have done it already, right? They're trying to make the lives of their team members easier, right? This is task elimination that leads to role amplification. It's a very difficult position to do if you haven't done it, right? You're listening to different conversations at once. There's probably one at the window, there's one in your headset, there may be one behind you. Who knows how many people you have to be able to manage that kind of flow. And likely this is going to be a manager in that position too. And they probably should be doing other things, right? Yeah. But it's a very difficult position to do, and not a lot of people can do it. So, when it comes to providing hospitality, that's where I really see the technology coming to fruition. It's you amplify the capabilities of your people to provide that hospitality. They no longer have to close the window or take the order of the guest or say something to the guest at the speaker when the window is open talking to a guest. They can spend more time doing what they can do the best, and that's serving the guests, right?
Yeah. I think you make a valid point too, is that if we're looking at the different markets that we're operating in, if we're talking about a drive-through, that's clearly a different experience than inside the restaurant where a smiling server or a greeter brings you, sits you down, somebody's coming by and helping you and giving you a full experience. And I hate to say it, the drive-through is transactional for the most part. It's come on, give me my food, get me in, get me out. Don't give me a bad day. Don't give me a hard time. Right. But reverse, the employees that are at the drive-thru all day long are exposed to the Kevins and the Karens that come through, and they're getting blasted by just, indifferent people. And sometimes, and I think freeing them from that allows them to increase the guest experience and speed of service inside the four walls beyond having to suffer through these conversations sometimes too. I think it helps in a number of different ways without diminishing what you're looking for in the drive-through, if we're talking about this. Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't think that just having AI take the orders in the drive-through removes hospitality just because you're removing a human, right? Yeah. I think to their credit, so many people that work in drive-through day in and day out and have for years, God, it's a hard job, and it's really hard to do day in and day out for long periods of time, especially when you've got there's brand standards that they want to be delivered to every single guest, but it's really difficult to say the same thing 200 times in a row, right? Even the best order takers can fail at it. And like you said, the drive-through is transactional. It's at the speaker. It's largely, impersonal some of the time, right? You're talking to a box.
Yeah.
It's actually funny. One of the products that the first company I went to work for was trying to do was build a holographic order takers for the drive-through.
Ooh.
So you would actually be talking to someone in the drive-through, make it a more personal experience, and that's very interesting, right?
Welcome to the uncanny valley.
It didn't really go anywhere. The demand wasn't there. But it's largely a personal experience, right? So I don't think necessarily removing human from that task specifically eliminates the hospitality from the instance, right? You still get to ensure that those brand standards are delivered consistently, so the brands are happy. And then when the guest gets to the window, the team member can interact with them and not be distracted.
And then look at the smile, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what they should be doing. Face to face with the guests, smiling, making sure they have a good experience, all of that.
I have a personal experience that makes me think that it increases hospitality because someone within the last year, someone in my family went to work for a very, very large coffee chain, and they put her at the drive-through. Hey, newbie, there you go. And day one, this is awesome. This is fun. Day three, I hate this. And so, it's not just the guests, right? You got to extend hospitality. You got to extend hospitality to the staff that have to do these very difficult jobs. And so, if you can pull someone off of that role, they can be happy somewhere else in the business.
It's not an easy job. It really isn't. And it's a very underappreciated job too. Like you said, the expectations and drive-through are very transactional. They pull up, they know what they want, and they expect like 5-star service when they're paying $12.50 for this food. You know, from people who are making maybe a little bit more than minimum wage, right? It's very difficult, and I have a lot of respect for the team members when I go into these stores and talk to them and hear about what they're struggling with and try to explain the technology to them. Because when I tell them that they're, well, they already probably know that they're testing AI, right? When I get there. So when we talk about it, I'm like, oh, so is this like ChatGPT? Is it going to tell the guests the weather? What happens if the guest says this? And I just try to explain it to them. Like, it's going to try to get the guests to go back to take the order. I mean, it's not going to go on a tangent or, offer them something crazy. Like, you can answer them, but it's really geared to make sure that it takes your order as quickly as possible and as accurately as possible for y'all. So, but their expectations, their head just starts to imagine and go wild when they hear that they're testing AI. And that's what in our own materials, we say, like, when you're going to introduce this to the team and let them know that they're going to be testing AI, make sure you're ready to also tell them the expectations, right? Because if you don't, they're going to start imagining, oh, I've heard about AI at this store, or I tried it at this store and it said this. Like, you really need to tell them, here's what the AI is going to do. Here's what's expected of you. And here's why I will behave. If you don't set those expectations with them from the very beginning, then by the time we actually turn on, it's going to be like, okay, here we go. Let's see how it does. Like, if you tell them, hey, it's been working well in all these other stores. This is what the metrics that they're seeing and the improvements they're seeing. This is how much happier the teams are in their roles because they have its help when it's actually doing its job and taking the orders quickly and accurately. Like, you guys are going to like it. Then they get excited about it and they want it, right? Yeah.
So in line with that, you just mentioned the metric there for tech and how it reduces stress a little bit for the team. What are the aha moments that these crews have when they see it starting to do what it does?
Oh, it's really cool to see that. They really start to fold it into what they do, right? At first, there's a little bit of mistrust, right? They're kind of listening intently to every conversation. I can see them kind of walking around and like hands on the headset, like thinking and listening to it, right? And then as it goes on and it gets, and they see that it works more regularly, then they're having conversations with each other. They're talking to guests. They're getting food out faster. They say, I love this thing. Like, it's great. Just keep it on. I love it. Really, it's amazing. And I love seeing that transformation because it really does make their jobs easier when you take it and you actually apply it the way that it needs to be applied so that you get the efficiencies and the returns that you need from it. Right.
Yeah, I've heard something similar back like that. I have a friend who leads a brand in California that's 500 unit or so burger chain, and they were testing AI. This is back 5 years ago or so, and they only had about 50 to 60% accuracy on it, and they still loved it because of that. Still the benefit minus all the good stuff that we're getting out of it now. So it definitely validates what you said, Chad.
It's how you leverage it, right?
Yeah.
The AI should be taking orders consistently the same way throughout the day. There shouldn't be any ups and downs, and it's accurate this time and not accurate this time. But the team members fold it into what they do, and sometimes they can listen to it, and they know when a guest requests a human, okay, I can jump in, or they hear the AI say things that's kind of like, wait, what? Why did it say that? And then they'll jump in or something like that, and then they'll report it to the company and say, hey, it said this, and then they fix it, and it kind of just evolves from there.
Curious, Adam, whether it's feedback from the stores or other kind of data on guest sentiment, how are you seeing guests responding and feeling about the AI experience?
Honestly, a lot of it is really, the people that come up are really indifferent. I would say probably less than 5% of the people are the ones who have issues with it. everyone else. And there's some people who even say, this is great. I mean, I love that you're doing it, and I know about it, and it's going to be everywhere soon. Like, when self-checkout lanes started at grocery stores and there was only a few of them, and everyone's like, oh, I'm not checking out my own groceries. Someone else is going to do it for me now. Walmart's got stores with only self-checkout lanes, and people just kind of know, oh, this is convenient. I can go use this now because I can get out faster. I don't have to wait in line. It's like,
Yeah.
this is great. That's what's going to happen with AI, across the restaurant industry, whether it's voice or some of the invisible applications in the background. It's just going to help restaurants run better, and as they interact with it and start to trust it, the sentiment is just going to continue improving. Yeah.
Thinking about development and how we hire inside of companies, and Chad, you've experienced this too. The places I've worked, typically, especially in hospitality tech, we have I hope still an affinity to hire people who've been like yourself in operations on the line in technical roles, people that get it, not just an engineer, not diminishing engineers, but an engineer that comes in and says, I'm going to make this to the spec, has no idea of the human aspect of the workflow, of all the other things that go into it, right? And so tell me a little bit about that, right? So, if we're designing tech at the restaurant, working backwards, and we're using these people that understand the business, how are you guys looking at that and what you're creating and producing to support these businesses?
Well, it comes back to just being able to set some really clear requirements for engineering teams, right, on how the experience is supposed to work. And sure, as far as system functionality, it should be up 99.9% of the time, right? That's the tech working, right? At least from, if there's not any blockers, like, oh, the network connection got dropped for the whole store. Like, all right, well, it's not really nice.
Right.
We can have backups in place, certainly, but when you think about how is it interacting with the guest, right? So this kind of goes back to my culinary experience, where I can at least look at a drive-through menu, and I can say, okay, I can understand essentially what you're needing it to ask, right? So we develop requirements and stuff and how we want the AI to interact with the guest based on the menu. Because when you think about it, the decision trees across the drive-through space are not all that different. I mean, you can call it a combo or a meal or a basket, right? Or it comes with this kind of side or not. Or maybe it's a sandwich that comes with your choice of the two sides too, right? But again, the decision trees aren't that far off. I mean, are there ones where you need to disambiguate, or are there ones that you can default? Sometimes you can default to side, that's the most common, but you're definitely gonna have to ask the drink, right? So we kind of go through those scenarios, and it's very difficult to replicate an authentic guest interaction because I can tell you, I've had to listen to thousands and thousands of guest interactions at the drive-thru, and the things that they ask are just kind of insane. This brand has been around for 100 years, right? And you don't know what's on the menu. Okay,
Right.
You're 45 years old. I think you would know. You've been here before, probably. They ask questions about the menu, and then there's all these things that they can go into.
McDonald's.
It's insane, right? Sometimes they'll pull up and they're talking on the phone and they're cussing someone out or something like that. It's amazing that people will have to drive the expectations they have back to the expectations. They just expect the person on the other side just to understand it and let them do their thing, or one of the ones that I see regularly that people do kind of have some sympathy with is anyone who's driving diesel trucks. They usually pull up and turn off the car. Those ones are pretty nice. But going back to just the hospitality experience, the food service experience, it comes down to being able to put yourself in a few different shoes at the same time, right? That of the diner and then that of the team member. What's going to make them the most comfortable? Because every manager sort of manages their restaurants a different way, right? Every franchisee can manage their restaurants a different way, right? There were some who are very, very, very tight on speed, and there are some who ignore speed completely, right? They don't look at speed. They look at customer satisfaction, and they look at transactions, right? And everyone has their own philosophy on how that works, right? And we listen to it, and we hear it, and read about it every day in the industry: speed of service, accuracy, customer satisfaction, transactions, year-over-year sales, what's everyone looking at? Everyone's going to look at something different, right? So we just have to make sure that the experience we're delivering for the guest optimizes not only how fast we can get the order in, but that it's accurate. And we need to make sure we're not asking anything that we maybe shouldn't be asking, or we understand when we should stop asking things and move on and take the rest of the order, right? So that way the team member doesn't start to get uncomfortable, right? Because if the guest starts to get uncomfortable, then the team will start to get uncomfortable, right? So it really comes down to just understanding a restaurant and what's going on inside the team members' heads. It gives us a leg up. Yeah.
So, Adam, you guys at Adivi are known for being a second generation solution, having learned the lessons of the first crop, as well as getting to take advantage of newer models and architecture in how you approach the problem. What are some of your favorite examples of automation or AI not working well? Some of which, appears on viral social clips to take as a lesson of what not to do in how you approach things now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first generation platforms are largely like, trained LLMs, right? And they had, you say this, I say that kind of logic to it, right? And if they didn't work, there were people in the background who could support it, right? And that's, what a lot of people are talking about. Oh, we've got agents who are watching every call and are able to react and modify what the AI says, right? I think the question is how quickly can they do that? Or is there coverage to do that, right? Because it can tell you that when it comes to order taking, I mean, this goes back to, you guys remember when they were doing, remote order taking when there was actually human in call centers and actually taking the orders in the drive-thru for the team, right? It was really expensive, right? So AI comes in and it can augment some of that by cutting down some of the costs, but it's still really expensive. And everyone is trying to figure out how do we eliminate the need for support that we're paying for in the background, right? We have to think about what's the best experience for the guest at the end of the day, right? Who's the best person that can actually help the guest quickly when something goes wrong? It's the team member wearing the headset, right? That's how we train. So when it comes to some of the, at least how we're looking at things now, right? We want to be able to provide consistency as far as we need to be able to understand what's happened throughout the entire conversation. It's not a if this and that, if this and that, if this and that. You can take the entire conversation into context. You can limit what the AI can say, right? Because, sometimes AI really does a really great job of trying to appease the guests in their requests, right? They'll ask, do you have this? And it'll say, oh yeah, we have that. When they don't have that, right? You have to make sure that your menu is under control. And in all those situations, team members are going to jump in, which is great. And then you do training to refine it so it understands that we don't have those menus and apply that way, right? And it also comes down to the big risk, right? Everyone sort of talks about how AI can kind of put money on your bottom line, right? What they're not thinking about is where is AI going to take money out of your pocket down the line once you take it out, right?
Right.
And that comes down to compliance, right? So if you go to a drive-through today that's not ours, you're going to see they have to have signage and posted that says, hey, this conversation is going to be recorded, right?
Biometric
so
law.
Transparency that someone recording laws, right? They vary from state to state, from country to country. So at least for our solution, being the one that we're 100% globally compliant, any state, we don't need any disclosures at the restaurants that we're recording. So that really eliminates the risk of anyone coming to your brand and saying, oh, well, there wasn't a disclosure posted, right, in your drive-through, and I'm going to sue you because you took my personal information. As I don't know how much integrity that is when really we're not doing anything with it. We don't care. We're not, when we have the recording and we can listen to it, great. But it's not like we're going to track you down and say, oh, you said you were at the supermarket and you went to this restaurant instead. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Some people are still can sue you for it, right? Because you're not disclosing that you're recording. And that's just not a situation that, you're going to have with us, which opens things up and makes people much more comfortable, at least, about, deploying this from a risk perspective.
A moment ago, you mentioned the costs, right? And one of the things that caught our attention when Chad and I were shopping around to see who we liked in the marketplace here, something that your CEO said that you have a fixed cost per store. A lot of these, and I'm not dinging them, but some of the AI solutions that are out there are upside down in their revenue because the cost internally just to support these things. And then the cost that they're charging stores is pretty significant compared to other tools that they have inside the four walls, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we decided that, because we're never going to use support agents in the background, right? Our failover is always to the human in the restaurant who can serve the guests quickly. We're able to be, very competitive as far as price goes, right? Like you said, the high costs mean you have to charge something pretty high for restaurants, and the operator knows that margins are incredibly thin in the QSR industry. So when you say something like it's $1,000 or more, or sometimes $2,000 or more a month, they're kind of looking at, oh, really? Like, is that for all my restaurants, or not per store, per month? So we designed this thing, like you said, as a Gen 2 company, understanding all the roadblocks that we experienced in the past, and planning for those so that they're not going to keep us down. we are one of the leaders in price, and it's a fixed price. It's the same per restaurant, per lane. It doesn't change. There's no discounts for this franchisee or that brand. Everyone pays the same, right? And it's sort of based on, we anticipate that an average drive-through will see about, maybe 450 cars a day, right? So there's one very large brand that is considered a quick service, right? Where they see a lot of different cars, but there's no drive-through. And it's like, we're not going to charge them per every single lane that they have, right? It's sort of like, if you have that sort of a setup, it'll be around 450 cars a day is what you would pay for the price that we're currently offering.
Wow.
So, Adam, I was telling a friend probably 2 months ago, it's like, they really ought to rename your title to Chief AI Officer based on a lot of the things he does for the brand for us. Now, I want to call out that because there's not enough people with that title, especially if they're in it. You have a unique title. You have, customer experience lead. And it's like, how is that different than your traditional customer support, leadership, relationship management role? What is that? And does it sound to you like it does to me that we need more of that in the industry?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a trend that you've seen in the last few years, and there's a lot of influencers in the space that I follow where brands are starting to bring on customer experience teams, right? Or customer experience officers, right? CCOs. And our job is really to ensure that the guests have the best experience possible with our products. And what usually came from the sales team as far as insights and what the guests are looking for and things, we can come directly from the guests and tell them this is what they need. This is what's wrong. This is what we need to fix, right? So, I couldn't code anything if you asked me to. I probably could actually. I can go to one of these bots and they can code something for me if I needed it to, right? I do know how to use it at least. I'm not a total greenhorn, but coming from the space of experience in the industry that we're servicing, which of course is restaurants, I can really just offer insight. And usually these arms of the organization are going to manage support functions, right? So that support desk will report up to me, maybe our business analysts as well, right? So that they can kind of gather the requirements they need and deliver to engineers. They're all built very differently, structured differently, but it's kind of following the trend of the customer experience department or division coming into a lot of these companies. And you really see it prevalently in maybe like manufacturing or retail. But tech, it can be very impactful because tech, usually you start off with people who know how to build a product. That's great. But you need to have people like me who can tell you exactly what you're building. Is there a product market fit? You should be going after, what's the experience we need to deliver? I don't know if that answers your question or not. But.
Yeah, sure does.
And I love the analogies that I've heard you use as I was reading and getting ready for this conversation. And I've seen you say something to the effect of you compared leadership and technology to cooking with quality ingredients, right? Can you share a little bit of a real world example where focusing on high quality ingredients have paid off?
Yeah, absolutely. You want food or from tech?
I want the tech example. Like I think I know food because that's we know what delicious looks like, right? But what's delicious leadership? What's delicious technology?
I'm gonna do an Elon Musk pause here. Don't take up too much time. Oh, what's a good example?
We can edit the pauses.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm trying to sit myself in the same position every time, and so we can edit it either. But
I guess that thoughtful to know where his body's going to be when the cut happens.
Very detailed.
Well, I had to edit
I'm
a few
think
videos,
in this position.
Don't put your hand on your face. Keep your hands out. Try and do the same position. Well, I guess for people who are kind of thinking about the comparison I made, it's sort of like, are you going to go buy USDA Select ground beef that looks more pink than it does red, and some store brand cheddar, and a bag of those 16 to a bag buns, and expect you can have a really, really awesome product if you just season it right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen, right? If you go get that locally raised grass finished beef and you grind it from a mix of different brisket, short rib, and chuck, and then you use a really nice local cheddar and a brioche bun, there's going to be a difference in those things. They're essentially the same building blocks.
Yeah.
They're just how much quality are they and what can you charge for it, right? Yeah. So when it comes to tech, as far as the quality of LLMs that you utilize or those that you build yourself, one good way to look at it too is when it comes to us specifically, we are a software only product. So We don't have any custom hardware that we install in restaurants. We work with, some of the latest in drive-through headset technology because they have the best audio. Actually, it's probably the best example when you think about AI in the drive-through is where's your audio quality?
Right.
If you have an AI that you want to put into a restaurant whose speaker is 15 years old and there's wires coming out of it, and the headset is staticky, it's going to try its best, but you still have to, the quality of the audio matters. And then when you work with something like, the newest models of these cloud-based headset systems for the big providers that everyone's working with, the audio is crystal clear. There's no concern about, hardware degrading. It's all, through the cloud. And that makes it incredibly fast as well, right? There's fewer leaps for it to go through, right? To be able to interact with your guest. But that's where I would say, from a technology standpoint, ingredients matter. Audio quality, speaker quality, point of sale quality goes in there as well too. What kind
it
of
also
experience
feels
do you
like
want
what your CEO had shared with me about the pedigrees of the leadership that you guys have brought on. Some of the people literally wrote the book on some of these things, as far as the understanding human behavior, etc.
Yes, that's another point. Like when we talk about the burger example again, right? I mean, it depends who's cooking it. If you have a Michelin star chef cooking with the basic ingredients and then someone who's never cooked a burger before with the great ingredients, what do you get? Like, it all comes down back to that, what we talked about earlier, where every step of the process and the steps you take matter, right? And I'm going to source my products from a really good vendor who can get it to me on time, that I can prep on time, that are going to last, that I can break down and have an experienced chef be able to prepare the way I need it to, so that it gets out not only in a timely manner, but hot, and also with other ingredients that are coming from different stations, so the guest is happy, right? If any of those links along the way are weak, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna have a more poor experience. One of the things we always tell people about our team is that yes, they have incredible experience in software engineering, particularly AI. The team that is working here now is actually the team that built the system that FedEx uses for shipment tracking, billions and billions of requests a day, and over 99% accuracy rate with it. So they understand the importance of building something for scale that can work independently, right, without much oversight, because then that eliminates, the opportunities for errors. But everyone on the team is great. They're very knowledgeable. I am not the technical person here. I'm learning, right? I mean, see, I've got a textbook over here trying to get my sea legs, right, as far as software engineering goes. But apparently I don't have to read that anymore because I can just go to an LLM and it'll do it for me soon. I mean, it's Elon Musk said software engineering is going to be dead by the end of the year, and it's it's kind of insane. Yeah.
It's a brave new world we live in.
Adam, if you haven't already had to answer this question, as part of the team, or you will, right? The rate at which things are improving with AI, as good as AI gets, as it's going to get, and it's capable of everything. What is the human touch point or instinct you wouldn't want to automate?
Well, I use AI every day, right? I use it to draft things, do research for me. Even today, I had to do 2 different research projects. It took it 10 minutes. It would have taken me days before just to be able to do the research myself, read it myself, gather everything, do a synopsis. And I read through it, and everything was okay. But it was about 95% there. But it didn't have exactly the context I wanted, and wasn't really delivering the experience that I wanted it to, right? So AI really does a lot of the legwork for you, right? But it still comes down to the human that is leveraging it to make sure it's giving you the experience that you want, right? So it can draft an article for me, fantastic. I think we all know, we can tell which articles are drafted by AI nowadays based on how they're punctuating. They really like their short sentences and their hyphens and all that stuff.
The EM dash.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to eliminate those. So give it more, human touch. Maybe even make it more imperfect, all right? Because sometimes that's the art, right? Even in culinary art, sometimes imperfection is what you go for. Thomas Keller always said, if you go to the dining room, the kitchen per se in New York, there's 5 stars above the range, right? And I can't think of a single restaurant that's ever gotten 5 stars before. Wrong. Maybe I just don't look at the reviews enough in that magazine. But his reason for doing that was you always want to strive for perfection. You may not get there, but just strive for it. Just keep pushing for it, right? AI is doing that. It's really trying to automate a lot of the process for us. But as far as delivering exactly what you want, you have to give it the right instructions too. I'm bad at giving instructions, but there's always going to be a personal touch that's needed. When it comes to restaurants, that's even more true. Because honestly, I mean, I don't think the robotics will advance enough in our lifetime to be able to take over cooking roles in restaurants. We'll see. I could be totally wrong. Don't quote me on it. But I mean, AI is already working in restaurants more than anyone who pulls up to that drive-through knows, right?
Yeah.
At the back of the house, data analysis, scheduling, all that stuff, right? It's already there. But it's still, manager's going to take a schedule that it makes and sort of like just put it on the wall without looking at it. Oh, well, this person actually did say that they needed this day off for their kid's doctor appointment, so I need to change. Like, AI is not going to know that, right? I mean, there's little details that you get. Like, if you have a regular who pulls up to the restaurant, sure, it's very soon, AI is going to be able to, if you give it permission, recognize you when you pull into the drive-thru, greet you by name, ask you if you want the thing that you ordered last time, because a lot of people will. That's going to be tremendous if the people give permission for the AI to interact with them that way. But when that person pulls to the speaker, AI doesn't know they've had a bad day, or there's something that happened in their life where it's irregular and they just look down and they need to give that extra level of hospitality to the guest and kind of drive their experience a little better, right? What more can I do for you today? I mean, how can I help you today, right? So,
In some cases, that restaurant interaction could possibly be the only human connection people make during that day.
I mean, just because AI is deployed does not mean that hospitality is dead. There's no way, shape, or form. I mean, it's so much more important than ever. I would argue that's why we're utilizing AI, so we can put more time towards doing those things than what we're doing now, right? How can, like we talked about, task elimination and role amplification, right? How do we take time back from doing something that we did one way without tech, and now we're implementing technology, and now I can spend more time interacting with my guests or interacting with my team members, because as a manager, my team members are my first guests, right? As a brand owner and operator, my team are my first guests. If they do not have the tools that they need to do their jobs correctly, then they cannot deliver the experience I expect them to.
And please take this in the way I mean this. You have a very zen calmness about you. You're very thoughtful. You're very deliberate. And it was no surprise when I read that you had a hobby that kind of feeds into that. You're an amateur potter, right? And boy, I've failed miserably every time. It's clay flinging everywhere. It's a tower that falls to pieces. And
first thing everyone thinks of is like, oh, like Ghost? Is that what you do? I'm like, no, haven't convinced my wife to do that yet. No.
There's a level of patience I think you have in there, right? That has to happen. You can't will it to happen immediately. You have to flow it and bring it to where you want it to be. And I have to imagine that focus influences your approach to problem solving and leadership and working with people, because there is something built into that. I don't think it's meant for everybody. You have to be a patient person to throw pottery. It
definitely helps, because you are going to mess up a lot. But once you get into it, I will say there's no better calm or relaxing feeling. It's literally like you disconnect from your body and you're not there and you're just focusing on this object that you're creating, and you can make anything, which is pretty cool. I always made bowls and mugs, obviously, right? I'm the food guy.
I have a lot of ashtrays from when I was 12.
I would say the Zen mostly came actually from kitchens, and you would think that's awkward, right? But I work with a lot of bosses that I hate, and I've worked with a lot of bosses that I love. I consider them mentors, still friend with them today. But when you're in a kitchen, you really have to learn to make decisions really quickly, all right? Everyone's looking at you. How are you reacting to it? So I really practice deliberately, hold your reaction back. Your team's worried about something. Don't overreact. Reassure them it's going to be okay, and make a decision, right? You're always thinking in the back of your head, what data do I have, right? Can I make a decision with this data? What else do I need? And then sometimes the decisions you make is right now, if this is what's happening, let's do this. If this changes, we'll do that. And you move on. Because especially when you're a chef cooking, you've got 5 different things going on. This is in the oven. This is simmering. This is being checked in by your sous chef. And this guest wants to talk to you. You have to keep in your mind, okay, I need to go check on this. So you don't have time to sit there and deliberate over small decisions, right? So it's kind of helped me really stop and think. And I'm really happy that people Jobs and E09, you see them on interviews, and when they're asked questions and they don't know, they're just kind of they wait and they try and think of the best answer, because you don't need to react immediately, right? There's emotion, and then there's reaction. I think it's unfortunately made me very not very emotional, which can be bad, but no, it's definitely helped. I mean, it's forged in a fire, right?
Yep. I just looked at the clock and realized we're a little bit past our plane landing part of the journey, so it's about
All right.
time to shift gears to our rapid fire wrap up. Before we do, Chad, anything,
right.
any thoughts there before we get on to the closing?
No, this is great. You guys
Full of
are,
time. Let's get to it.
Okay. All right. So these are meant to be quick, not hard hitting, soft pitches that are fun to go at. So let's see if there's anything that's off base, just say pass. But I expect we're going to have a good interaction here. So,
all right.
ready?
Let's go.
AI or human? Who would win in a drive-through upsell battle, a robot or a shift leader?
Yeah.
Lunch rush nightmare. What's the weirdest thing you've seen go wrong in a restaurant?
Weirdest thing? The worst thing that can go wrong is probably your grill going down. That's awful. Or your fryer, depending on what restaurant you're at. The weirdest? I don't know.
Yeah, what have you seen?
Maybe it was a flat tire of the delivery truck in the drive-through. That was weird and just kind of like, why did this have to happen? No, I would say that's the one I would say is the weirdest.
Future tech. If you could snap your fingers and add one gadget to every restaurant right now, what would it be? And you can't say IDV.
Yeah. Can't say what?
And you can't say IDV.
No. AI order taking. Yeah.
Okay. Guilty pleasure. What's your secret fast food obsession?
I'm so happy about this. I grew up in California, and I grew up on In-N-Out. And then I moved to Texas. And when I moved to Texas, they came to Texas. And then I moved to Nashville. And now they're in Tennessee. So they're opening one at my house. So In-N-Out's going to be bought by me again. It's fantastic. Very excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I need them to open up in Florida. When I used to go overseas, the first place I'd go when I came home, it was like kissing America, the ground in America. I'd go right to In-N-Out. All right.
The other one would be like, it's strange, people don't really know about, but Round Table, I mean, a lot of people know, Round Table Pizza. And unfortunately, they're part of Fat Brands. They're declared bankruptcy, but Round Table Pizza is amazing. I've always loved it.
Yeah. All right. AI fails. What's the funniest thing an AI has said on the job?
I don't know if I can legally tell you that. Okay, I will say that I have heard it offer, I don't know what I can say. No, I can't tell you. It said some strange things. But again, you go back and you modify it, you rein it in. There are limits, obviously. It depends on the architecture. But
okay. We'll move on then. And the last part, human touch. If AI ran everything perfectly, what's one thing it should never take over?
It can't eliminate human interaction completely. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
I'll change it. It shouldn't. For restaurants, it should never actually replace a human actually as part of the food production process or interacting with the guest at some point.
Love it. Well, this has been a very rich conversation. You brought a lot of it to it, and I love the fact that you didn't give simple one-line answers. You went very deep on a lot of these subjects, which gives us a lot of great clips too. But no, this has been a real pleasure. I didn't expect we were going to have this great of a conversation with you. And one of the reasons we love on the solution you have out there is the team, the people. You embody them very, very nicely, and a great representative of your brand as well. I love that there's people out there that are from restaurants making tech for restaurants, not simply engineers, and they're wailing away at it. And I have such a good feeling about what Audivi's doing out there. What shows are you guys going to be at this year? I know, like, coming up, that if people want to run into Audivi.
Yeah, so right now we're scheduled to be at the Restaurant Leadership Conference. We'd love to get to know you there, see you there. Our CEO is going to be there. Our Chief Product Officer is going to be there. Really great team. So we'd love to interact with anyone who's going to that conference. And I think we haven't really lined out the rest of the year yet, but RLC is definitely the big one for us this year.
Fantastic. And I know that Adam is also prevalent on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to see his podcast, or if you're listening, you probably may have found it on LinkedIn. But if you have any questions about Audivi or would like to meet Adam or have a conversation with him, he's easy to find on LinkedIn. And like we always say, if you can't find him for some reason, ask us. We'll put you in contact with him. But for now, this has been the ChatGTM podcast coming to you live. We don't know what episode number it is because we don't know what order we'll issue these things out. But it is season 2, and we're thankful that you have you as our audience. And as always, in closing, random acts of kindness. Sprinkle that stuff everywhere. You never know whose day you're gonna make better. And for now, this is the ChatGTM crew and Adam signing off, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, Adam.